Yeah, I agree. No, it is a choice in that regard. Yeah.
What is up, Sam? What's going on, brother?
Hey, man.
Oh my God, we got to talk about this, bro.
Yeah. So, what do you want to know?
Okay, so when you said you went through a trans, right? You're speaking in past tense, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So are you transitioned then?
No. So for a few years, I pretty much thought that's what I wanted. Well, that's who I was. Um, so yeah. So I started transitioning about 4 or 5 years ago. I used to DIY the hormones basically.
Okay.
So I did that for about Um, I'd have this cycle of I'd buy all the hormones, so I'd buy it from like Thailand. Um, so I'd get like the estrogen and the testosterone blocker, and I would take them, and then the next day I would just regret it. So I'd flush them all kind of down the toilet, um, and then that was kind of like a cycle. So I would, you know, buy these hormones when I felt like that was kind of who I was, and it was a messed up time. I had a lot of other things going on in my life at the time, um, but yeah, I used to do that with my balls.
Okay, so all right, but we'll talk about the balls in a moment. I want to touch on this because I always find it fascinating when people are transgender. You know how I am. You know me, well, not personally, but you just know how I am as a person. Um, So I do want to ask. So when you said that you went through a phase, what made you think or believe that you were supposed to be or want to be a female?
I think it started when I was a kid, when we learned about genders in school. Because my dad left when I was 2 or 3 years old, so my mum and my sister, my older sister, were the main kind of influences in my life. I think when I was a kid,
Sure.
so I think I remember coming home and saying that I learned about genders and that I was a female, and then my mum said, "No, no, you're wrong. It's male." But that's because I wanted to be like them. I think
Hmm.
you know.
Sure. Being
Um,
raised by him too, especially.
yes, yeah, exactly. So I had I brought up in a Christian household, so it wasn't really, there are lots of different views. Even within a religion, people can have different views.
Sure.
So so it's more about just the sort of, I guess, the culture of our household growing up was that that wasn't really the answer to those sort of feelings, that you just sort of had to ignore them. So I think it got to, I had these feelings, they'd pop up now and again throughout my whole life. But then when I got to about 20, I thought, screw it, I'm just going to try. Because I felt like maybe that would be the answer to the kind of discomfort that I had internally, I guess.
Okay, so the deciding factor of you not wanting to be a female anymore, what was that breakthrough?
That was, I was in therapy at the time for depression and anxiety. And in the therapy sessions, it was person centered. So I would be leading the sessions, just free thought. I'd just be talking
Right.
for an hour at a time each week. And then as I started talking more and more, I started to have a bit more insight into what was going on in my mind with the transgender stuff. And it turned out, or for me, my sort of personal revelation was that when I was a child, my understanding of why my dad left was, my understanding of the world was that men wanted to be around women. Men would find a woman and stay with them. And I think my personal realization I came to was that I wanted to be a woman so that I would have a male figure in my life that would want to stay around. As sad as that sounds, I think that's where it kind of started when I was a kid, because my dad left for another woman.
Yeah, but what stopped you though? What stopped you from saying, you know what? Look, I'm destined to be a dude. This is the way that it
So
is.
so it was a few different things. I found a load of research that the suicide rates of transgenders, they're transitioning physically. the majority of the time, didn't make those didn't solve anything. If anything, in a lot of cases, it made it worse. Um, Seeing a lot of videos on YouTube of people that had transitioned, they'd taken off their genitals, gotten changed, and they completely regretted it.
Oh yeah, that's usually the case with transgender
And
too, right? Is once they do
yeah,
the sex change, like I follow a couple transgender, Blair White. I'm sure you know who Blair is.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous woman. But she still has the the uh the crotch, still has the penis and the balls, and she has made a very point. I have no problem calling her a her because she looks like a she. You know what I mean? Like this was the big misconception that people think that I hate transgenders. I don't. I just call you by what you look like. If you look like a dude, I'm gonna call you a he. If you look like a she, I'm gonna call you she. It's not about me though. This is about you. But I'm very aware that once most transgenders, like what Blair says, the reason why she won't do it is because she, like you, has seen people that know, okay, oh my God, I wish I didn't do that because of all the complications afterwards. There's no going back. Well, there is a way to go back, but it's more money. You should have just left it the way that it was. Um, so the reason why I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. So go ahead, continue as to why you didn't follow through with it, why you stopped doing it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Fine, it's fine. Just trying to think. So ultimately, I realized I have to. The conflict inside myself was that I wasn't happy with myself, um, and me changing what I looked like, in terms of how I identify in the gender, wouldn't solve that conflict. I just felt that for me personally.
Wow,
So my realization was I need to learn to be who I am and not try to be someone else. And that's not to say that I've got there are lots of transgender people I know, and I've got a lot of love for that. And that's just me personally, basically.
absolutely, yeah. You're not speaking against transgenders. It's just your journey, if you will.
Yeah,
So do you still feel internally that you want to be a woman, or did you just accept the fact that you're a dude?
I think the idea. So I think that most transgender people who have these feelings, have an idea or an image of what they will be like once they go through all this. And I think that's quite unattainable for me in terms of what I wanted. And I'm 6'2", and I'm a big guy. And that's not to say that you can't. That's not to say, I don't know why I said that, but I think my idea in my head of what I wanted,
Is a
it would.
typical sexy female type of thing.
Sure, yeah,
Sure,
yeah. But
sure, I get
I
it,
think
I get
also
it.
that taps into. I wouldn't have been doing it for me. I would have been doing it for, to be honest, male attention. Like, this is back when I was a kid. Like, this is what I wanted. I wanted men to be around me, and ultimately, I think
Wanted.
one thing that really made a difference was, uh, I found a personal faith a few years ago. Started joining like a group of guys, and I think having men that actually cared about me and could give some positive, like, brotherly love in my life, made a huge difference to me. And I think that kind of satisfies that need I used to have for that, yeah, for that change.
Absolutely. Oh, that's super fascinating. So did you regret taking the journey of all those medicines that you pumped into your body? And did it fuck you up for where you are now? Or does your body act like you never took any of those?
The pattern I was doing, you take them. You meant to take them for there are different charts you can find on Google Images where, like, after 3 months, the hormones, it varies slightly depending on the age that you are, but the hormones start affecting your breast tissue. I'm talking about male to female here. Your breast tissue, your hair growth, even your skin. It's a different pH and a different thickness. But all those things take a lot of time of constant daily taking. I was only taking them 1 or 2, maybe 3 days at a time, then flushing all the pills away, because I still had this voice telling me that it wasn't the answer and it wasn't really what I wanted.
Wow.
Or what I did. So in terms of physical changes, my body, yeah, I don't have any, yeah. But yeah, at the time I used to, you know, tuck.
What, if you don't mind me asking, what
Sure.
medicines were you taking? Were they like a
The,
mainstream drug that you would get in the States, or would it be
they-
only so?
it, yeah, the same ones you'd get in the States. Not they weren't the brand names ones. I think it was estradiol,
Okay.
and spironolactone. I think was the anti-androgen, blocked the testosterone. Yeah.
And then you have to take other medicines as well, right? Like, so you're taking estrogen, right? And you're taking testosterone blockers, but there's also other things that you take as well when you're doing transitions, correct?
You can get like progesterone and things like that, which are like th- they're like another feminine hormone basically to do with breast development. But this is the danger of doing it DIY because I was impatient, and over here in the NHS in the UK, at the time it would take about a year. I went through this process as well when I was a lot younger, of getting a referral from my GP um, to a clinic. There's only one clinic around in London, and the waiting list was about 18 months. So in that time, I got impatient, and I just. But the reason why people need to do it through professional doctors is to get your bloods done. Because too much estrogen actually has the opposite effect, or desired kind of effect. Because your
What
body
would be the opposite effect to create more testosterone?
Yeah, your body kicks back a bit because the estrogen's too high, so it tries to balance
Tries to
itself
balance
out.
out. Got it.
So
Got it.
that's why you need to get the bloods done regularly, which you can only get done through. So because I was doing it all DIY, ordering it from Thailand or wherever, there was also that element of I don't know what I'm doing to my body taking this stuff.
Do you regret it?
I don't know because I feel like I'm able to more fully empathise with people who identify as transgender. Um, and also, I've learned a lot about myself, I suppose, and it's not had any physical health ramifications. Um,
I would say that the journey that you took upon yourself, figuring out whether you were or you weren't, or if this is what you were destined to be, um, I guess the word I could use is admirable. To be able to come out and tell people your journey just on a whim like this too. Like, you didn't know that you were coming on here. It all started with the testicle talk, and um, for it to stem into you telling, essentially, I mean, there's not a lot of people in here, but you telling, 70 people when I put this on YouTube, your journey. I think that could help out some people that are in uh, 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 a situation that's very specific, and instead of making, going great lengths, getting a sex change, trying to change your mind of who you are inside, it's crazy. It's an actual diagnosis, right? It's a dysphoria is what it's called,
Gloria. Yeah.
right? When you It's a mental disorder when you think that you are something you're not, right?
Mm.
Right. So, in depression, you're saying that stemmed from it, or that kind of what started all of it.
That was kind of what started all of it, or they're definitely related at least. Yeah. I
Wow.
think I think that a lot of people think that will solve more than they realise it will. It's not kind of. I think a lot of people attribute it to being the answer they're looking for. Um, but yeah, from other testimonies of other people who've transitioned and then have regretted it, and the statistics again of mental health that of gender dysphoria, that actually the transitioning hasn't actually reduced those numbers of, be it depression or suicide rates. Even this is just from what I understand. I could well be wrong from the studies I've seen online.
Yeah,
Um,
I've looked up. I mean, I don't like talking about suicide, but I've looked
oh,
up.
sorry.
No,
Which
no, it's not a wrong. No, it's fine. But um, I've looked up the suicide rates, and I don't know if you know Ben Shapiro. He did a little lovely number where he was arguing with someone that said that it's okay to change genders, and he was, well, you shouldn't be able to, you're biologically born something. But suicide rates came up, and they usually do, they usually do fire off with that number. But the idea that people commit suicide, people have to understand about suicide, and I know this on a first person basis, that suicide suicide is usually the action for right now. It's not a built up thing. Sometimes there's no signs. It's just so overwhelmed with so much, not knowing how to deal with it, you take your own life. And a lot of people from the transgender community do use the argument. It's just that it's not a very accurate one. Uh, Again, that's not saying that it doesn't happen. It's just less seen than what society make, or not society, but transgenders like to use that. I'm not going to
Yeah,
quote specific numbers because I don't have them right now. But this has been proven. But usually suicide is, oh my god, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I'm going to take my life. I'm out. And it's never the answer. It never is, because I can promise you, in 3 hours from now, you'll be better. And you don't get those. You take your own life, you don't get 3 hours from now. You
that's
know.
right.
Okay. So anyway, let's flip the conversation. Thank you, Brie. Let's flip the conversation over to the testy jammy. Uh, so you did. Um, so you would tuck it all. So you even went as far as dressing as
Oh yeah,
female. I would assume if you're going for the tuck, you were
yeah,
going all out.
yeah. The makeup, the clothing, and everything. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I would. So I just want to quickly just apologise for anything I may have gotten wrong figure wise. 20 viewers or anything. I could well be wrong about those statistics. So like, just disclaimer for that.
Sure.
So yeah, I used to. So the balls, yeah, go up into the cavities. Yeah,
That
and
that
then
that and it hurts, yeah, the first time you do it, or it's uncomfortable?
I don't remember because I don't feel it any. I can do it now. I don't feel it.
You don't
No,
feel it at all. It's just
no.
it's wow. Wow.
Yeah. First time probably did. From what I remember feeling, this is uncomfortable. I should not be doing this. And then I was thinking, what if they don't come out again?
And so let me ask you, when you put them in now, right, and you tuck them
Yeah.
now, how do you get them out? What, do you just cough?
No, they just kind of come out if I let them. I have to stop them from coming out.
It's so friggin' fascinating.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: when you were doing how long were you tucking and dressing like a female and trying to be a female to convince yourself that you're a female? How long?
I'm kind of
What's that?
well, how long at a time? Like how many hours or
No, 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 no. How long did this go on? A month, a week, a
I
year?
think I think about 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
Oh my!
from the age of about 16 to probably 20, 21.
And how old are you now?
I'm 27.
So 6 years ago was when you finished your transgender escapade, if you will.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
my trans escapade. Yeah,
right. So let me ask you this, Sam. Do you
yeah,
have pictures of when you dressed up like a woman?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do.
I'd love to
Yeah,
see those.
I looked a lot nicer than I do now.
So did you put like a wig on and shit and some
No, no,
mascara?
my hair was just super long and it was a lot thicker when I was younger, so I kind of passed quite well. And I
Do you think you
couldn't.
passed as a woman? Do you think people saw you and
No,
accepted? No. He said
no.
no.
I've been 6'2" and really broad since I was about 16. So
So you just look like a beefy ass football chick. Just
I had like a female rugby player. So we had I have a couple of friends who are like gay and trans, and I let them see the photos and stuff like that because I know that they're not gonna judge me on how well I pass or anything like that. So
sure, sure. I think it would be fascinating. I think it I look, I don't necessarily disagree with transgender. I do believe though wholeheartedly that what you're born with is what you are. Right now, if you want me to call you something that you believe you are, then be that. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Like don't expect me to assume what you are. Also, don't expect me to ask you for your pronouns because that's not a normal conversation. It's not a normal conversation for me to walk up to somebody and be like, "What do I call you as? Like, what are you?" Like to me, that would be offensive. Is
Right.
if I can't tell what you are and I'm asking you what you are, obviously your goal of looking like something is not being achieved, right? So again, that's not me being an asshole, just the way that it is.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I'd agree.
so I just wholeheartedly do believe though, if you want to be a female, then yeah, hey, you go do what you got to do, but at least appear like one. Don't
Mm.
tell me to call you a she if you look like me. You know what I mean? Like if you got a beard and shit, unless you're working for the circus, it's gonna be hard for me to call you a she. It just and you know or whatever. Good for you, Sam. Good for you coming out. If that's what you want to call it, and sharing your story, I think it's super fascinating. I'm more
Cool.
interested in that than your ball tucking, but I can't believe you did it for 4 years and you flipped it. You said that was it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, man.
So
So,
so when you were doing the transgender, now here comes another. This is a personal question. When you were doing that, you were seeking out men, yes?
yeah. Yeah, but, both.
So would you consider yourself gay?
No.
No. How no? If
Because I think the reason why I wanted I was seeking out for a man, at that time, was it wasn't for him, it was for me. It was to more fully feel like, a woman, a natural woman would feel, not natural, yeah, a cisgender woman would feel. So it was more for my benefit. It wasn't because there was any attraction. It was more to make me feel more satisfied in that role
so
and
you
that
didn't
identity.
think of any sexual acts or anything during this transitionary period? Let's just say, I mean, you're doing this for 4 years. So what happens if you were to be with a man, right? Obviously there would be sex involved.
Yeah.
So so what would have been your orientation? I mean, you were still a male
Hmm.
and you would have been with male sexual. Have you been with male sexually?
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does this bother you coming out like this?
No, this is just part of my life story, mate. I'm happy sharing it with whoever wants to hear.
So you've been
Uh,
with men sexually.
yeah, it's actually before the transgender stuff, though. But
Oh,
I mean, sorry, before before the age of 16. I mean,
what about during the transitionary period where you with men as well? No,
no, no.
with a woman, with anybody, just single
Yeah, a woman. Yeah,
with a woman, and
yeah.
she was with you based off the premise of you being a female or who you are born at birth.
Born at birth. So at the time of us being together, she didn't know about any of this to begin with. And then the more she kind of started to, she guessed some stuff. And then when I fully sort of came out, she was not came out. That's not the. I don't mean the same term, but I mean when I told her what I feel, what my experience has been, what I've been doing, when she's not around. Um, she was nothing but supportive. And ultimately she was really supportive, the whole way through. We're not together anymore, but yeah.
And what ended it? What did it? Well, not necessarily what ended it, but is the transgenderism, is that what ended it, or would it have been you just
No,
was it something else?
it was something else. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Can I go back to the sexuality when you were, a teenager? So
Yeah.
when you were an adult, right? When you were above 18, were you with any men from that point on?
No. No.
So now are you in a relationship now?
No.
Okay, if you were to be in a relationship now, would it be okay if it was a man or a female?
My personal preference is I'm not attracted to. I'm not attracted to being the man.
You're not attracted to being with a man, even though you
No,
were. So the time that you were with a man, right, when you were younger, was it because of trying to figure out what you wanted to be? So it was just a
it,
one time thing, or did it happen multiple times?
I think at that time this was before my kind of first level of understanding was that I wanted to be a woman. My second level or depth was why? Oh, because I want men's attention. I want men to be around me. And then the third level was why? Well, why is that? But at that time, 16, 15, I was actually just 12 or 13. It was right up the top surface level of I don't know why, but this is something I want to do right now.
So it was only the one person then. It wasn't
No,
multiple.
it was two people. Yeah,
Oh, and you didn't. Okay, so you don't seek that out now. That was something at that point. So you would say that you were straight.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Now, like you're straight now, right? You
yeah,
regular male female type of relationship. But at one point you were just trying to figure it out, so you wouldn't necessarily consider yourself bisexual, just inquisitive, if you will.
yeah. I was definitely very inquisitive when I was a teenager. Um, it took a few years for me to find out who I really am. Yeah,
So being as knowledgeable as you are about transgenderism, right? And your journeys through different sexual partners, different orientations, different genders. Um, would you say the $1 million question? Well, my $1 million question, that it's a choice.
I think the
Sexuality, I'm talking about, not transgenderism.
reality. I think there are internal desires that we have, and I don't think those are choices. I think it's what we do with those, is what we choose to do with those desires that we have choices in what we choose to do. Um, yeah, that's it in a nutshell, I'd say. So
So to answer that question, is it a choice? The question is yes or no. Is it a choice? Yes or no? It's not a choice.
they're two different questions. I think it's being this or doing this.
I think the idea. Okay. So you're everybody always answers this the same way you do. Is that the and it's to me, being honest, it doesn't fit my narrative. It doesn't fit my agenda. And I'm being very honest about that, because when people say the act of thinking of doing something doesn't necessarily make you that, right? Okay, valid argument, because you're not doing it. It's just like if I was to meet you and kiss you on the lips and French kiss you. It doesn't make me gay. It's just we did a gay thing, but that doesn't make us gay in a sense, right? Uh
Sure.
so again, that's just on a whim. That's whatever, just being silly or stupid. Now, wanting it, right?
Mm.
In my mind, wanting to be with a man does make you gay. You
Yeah,
understand?
yeah,
So
I'd agree. Yeah,
right. So I think right now what we have to figure out is, when I say it's a choice, I'm breaking it down to the bare minimal.
right.
Like, you can choose to either
Yeah,
be with a guy or to not be with a guy. That's what I'm saying as far as a choice. I think you're looking too philosophical about it, saying, technically, no, it's not a choice because you want it. Look, there's people that are sexual offenders, right?
yeah,
And I'm not glorifying or justifying it at all, but their mind tells them this is okay to do a certain thing, but
mm,
then they choose not to do it. Therefore they're not a sexual predator, because
yeah,
they chose not to do it. You
yeah,
understand? I guess that's the best way that I could really use that in this context. Of course, these are two different spectrums, but I really truly do believe that as much as you may want something, you can change what you want just by thought process. Case in point, you thought you wanted to be a transgender, and then you made a choice not to be one. You understand? So
yeah.
that's what I mean as far as, is it a choice? Again, I'm not trying to make you change your mind or your thought process, but I'm just trying to tell you my foundation of what I'm going off of.
Yeah, I agree. No, it is a choice in that regard. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like everything is a choice. You can
yeah, yeah.
choose.
A lot more choice than people realise. I think. Yeah,
Yeah, anything's a choice. It's a choice to live. It's a choice to take your own life. It's a choice to abort a bit. It's your choice. Again, it does you. I get it. It's not as simple as that, but I just wish it was as simple as that. so it fit my narrative more. Sam, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a very, very interesting, very interesting conversation. Probably the most open one that I've ever had with someone that was transgender. I don't know if you were around when we had, we'll just the other person that was in Zoom. I'm not going to say their name. Um, you have to remember Snacksy, no?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, it was somebody that was transitioning as well.
Right.
And they were trans, so they were born a male, transitioning to a female, so trans female, right? That's what that's
Mm.
called,
Yeah.
right? Transitioning to female, trans female. Um, it's just different, you know. You can speak to 100 different transgenders, and they all have different perspectives about pronouns, or just like people, they just have all different views, and no two really seem the same. None.
Mm.
It just I cannot tell you how much I commend you for telling your story and saying it with so much confidence that not you're not worried about people judging you or nothing. That's commendable, man. That's
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate
that's a
that.
big one, Sam. Thank you for
Cheers, man.
coming on. Thank you for sharing your stories. Is there anything you want to say at the end of this?
You just, well, you can't be someone you're not. You need to be who you are and learn to love yourself. Learn to love that about you, who you are.
So accept who you are.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for coming on, brother. Absolutely pleasure talking to you.
You too.
All right, Sam. Take it easy, brother. Wow. What a fascinating story. Oh my God. A great, great story, Sam. I got nothing but love for you, man.